don't worry if you've forgotten to get Dad a Father's Day card this year, because I've got you covered. This is the cutest little card that you could make for your fab dad. Hi, I'm Becky from Retro from Scratch, and I show you every week how to make something using recycled or waste materials or other retro types of craft. Now, you can't get more retro than a Fab Ice Lolly, and what with it being Father's Day, if you've forgotten to get him a card, then I'm going to show you how to make one of these. Of course, you don't have to make it for Father's Day. You could use it for any celebration, or you could just use it for decorating your home. If you've got a party for the summer, you can make really cute bunting like this. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can make it, and I'm going to explore those different types of materials that you could use. So if you happen to have an old toilet roll tube and a lollipop stick, then we can use those. But you're really going to need a glue stick and a pair of scissors and some paper. They're the minimum things, and I'll show you lots of different options of how we can create a fab lolly using those three things. Right, let's get stuck in. So I'm going to show you using a toilet roll tube, which I've flattened, but you could use any bits of old packaging and make it to size. But the tube is just quite simple and easy, and we've probably all got one lying around at home somewhere, so you can go down the recycle bin and find it. If you've got a lollipop stick, that's fine. If you haven't got cardboard, then you can just use a scrap of paper like this. This has just come off my printer and I've torn it to size. Now, if you're going to use a scrap of paper, you can just find the shape. So I've folded this piece of paper in half and then folded it again to create the size of the ice lolly that I want. I'm going to put my stick on there a bit later. So you can use the cardboard tube or you can use a piece of paper. And what I'm going to do is actually open this back up and then wrap this around to make a tube. And then all I'm going to do is place some glue on here like so that it makes a tube like the toilet bowl. Like so. Now what we need to do is put something inside. We're going to put the message within the lollipop. So we can use a piece of paper or card that's the right size. And to do that, all I'm going to do is literally measure it up. So you're going to come in a little bit shorter, about 3 millimeters, 2 or 3 millimeters smaller than the width. I'm just going to fold this up like so. And that, I know this piece of paper is now going to fit inside my card. So if I unravel it, I'm just going to cut where those folds are. And that will just slot in there like so. Okay, so we'll do the same for the toilet roll tube. Just going to fold this piece of paper here. Again, this is just a scrap piece that I had lying around. You could use a bit of an old envelope. I'm just going to cut that off there. And these little bits in the middle are where we're going to put our message to Dad. So open that up. Now that one's a bit stiffer. You can just trim that off a little bit. It's because the cardboard is thicker and it's slightly curved still. There we go. Okay. Now a Fab Lolly has 3 parts to it: red, white and chocolate on the top. So we're going to use, if you've got anything red that you might want to cover the bottom with. So you could just use a red felt tip and cover this part red and just colour that in.
This is actually a chalk marker, but it will do the same sort of job.
You don't even have to be that neat with it if you don't want to, because you'll still get the idea that it is a Fab Lolly. And then at the top we have the chocolate. So these are metal markers, they're chalkboard markers, and these are from Lenski. I'll put a link if you would like to grab some of these. I shouldn't shake it without the lid on. So you give them a good shake before you use them. And then on a scrap piece of paper, you press the nib up and down a few times until the ink starts to come through. Here it comes. Oh, that looks really chocolatey as well, actually. So then we've got the top section here, which is chocolate. Already looks like a Fab Lolly, doesn't it? It's so iconic. So for the toilet roll, we don't really need to worry about that being chocolate coloured. So we can actually just put a white stripe on there. You can either get a piece of paper, wrap it all the way round. So again, I've got this sort of scrap of paper here with the printing. I'll just turn it inside out, and we can just wrap that around there like that. I'll just, it's a bit thick, but that's okay. Place some glue on there. And then I'm going to put some glue on the bottom here. And a little bit on the white bit there. And then I'm going to do the same again. I've got some red paper. So I'm just going to cut that. But you can use anything that's sort of red, could be a little bit of material. So this is too long, but we can trim this bit off. I'm just going to wrap that round. And again, I'm trying not to do too much measuring. Oops, need to make sure that's long enough. Put some glue on the back here. And then if you just sort of fold over, the paper will sort of bend like that. You can just cut that bit off. We don't need that. So there we have our toilet roll Fab Lolly. We've got our paper Fab Lolly, and we've got our little slips of paper that are going to be going in and out. Okay, now the thing that's missing is the sprinkles, which are really important on a Fab Lolly, the hundreds and thousands. And you can do this in lots of different ways. You could use, I've got these little beads here that you could sprinkle on. So just apply some glue and attach them. Might be a little bit messy. Again, I've got a jar full of all these sparkly sequins and gemstones. So again, you could put those on. They would look really lovely and sparkly. Or you could simply just use some pens. So I'm going to go back to these markers and just sort of show you. And you just want to do lots of little lines, and you'll be surprised as to how quickly this will start to look like a Fab Lolly, as soon as, like even more so, as soon as you add the sprinkles. And if you wondered, a Fab Lolly has orange, pink and yellow sprinkles. So you just draw some random little lines. This is much quicker and easier than sticking bits on. but see what you think. What do you like? And you can do the same over here. So this is what's good about these chalk markers, is they're really good at overlapping another colour that you've already done. So this pack that I've bought is actually 21 different markers. So some of them are smaller and some of them are larger. And we haven't done any orange. So pop that on. Then I think that is all of the colours then. Fab. Okay, let's clear the space. So now what we're going to do is actually attach our message to the lolly stick. So all you need to do is apply some glue to the lolly. And then this, I'm going to lay it over the top just so I can see how much I want that to go in. So about there. That's great. Obviously this will be going inside. Now, before you stick it on, I've just realised it would be a lot easier to write your message first. So of course you can write any message that you like. So if you are going to write a message to Dad, then you might like to say, "Dear Dad, you are fab." Or you could say, "You are the coolest." And you can also put a message on the back. Just bear in mind that there's a lolly stick there. So let's stick this one. As you could see, it was much easier to write it before you stuck it to the lollipop. So I'm going to put the glue on all the bit where the ice lolly originally was. And pop that on there. And just wait for that to dry. And then once it's dried, open up your ice cream. Slot that inside. And you have your Father's Day card. I really hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Remember to give me a thumbs up, and I'd love to see if you have a go at making these. You can tag me on social media at Retro From Scratch. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is make an envelope. So you might want to check out my last video where I showed you how to make an envelope from scratch. I'll be back here this time next week with some more fun crafts for you to try. I'll see you then. Happy Father's Day.